Hello everybody, we're doing a comparison between the JU1000 Orgone generator and the RAD1000 Orgone generator, which is designed like a radionics device. This is a common inquiry because these two are priced both at $369 US. They're similar in size, they're nearly identical in output, though they're different styles. So you're talking apples versus oranges. One's not necessarily better than the other, though they're better for different things. And people often ask, what is a radionics device? What is the difference? Which one should I get? So in comparing the two, first things first, we'll go through the basic components. Both use a standard 12 volt wall outlet. And if you're one of our friends overseas, wall adapters are pretty common for a US plug-in. So we're going to plug this in. Now, the JU1000, plug in here, off, on switch here, blinking LED light, 99.99% pure silver output tube, 2 dials, one with 6 preset frequencies, and the other with continuous frequency settings 0 to 500. So 100 equals 500, 1 equals 5, 10 equals 50. Obviously not made to be precise. On the PFC 2000 and above, we have the digital frequency display. That said, you can still set an intent and get pretty close to the frequency you want with the JU1000, or use the 6 exact preset frequencies. RAD1000, you have 3 dials. Now these are radionics dials, meaning these are not meant to set a particular frequency. These are meant to be used in setting an intention, setting a target or a trend, like one would use a pendulum, what they call an ideomotor response. Basically the idea that your body, your mind is an antenna that can access or channel information, and you can lock that information in to a set rate. Or you can use rates that come in radionics books. So if you want to do, for instance, 7.83 Hertz, if you want to get close to 62 Hertz, 432 Hertz, this would not be the device for you. The JU1000 would be more your speed. Radionics is just a different method of achieving action at a distance. We believe, like our manifestation, written statements, using crystals, using frequencies. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. If you're not interested in radionics and you're not already using it, then I would recommend going for the JU1000 between these two. Here's the 99.99% pure silver output tube, the flashing LED light, the 3 dials, and the Orgonite stick pad. Stick pad can be used to charge items. You can set written statements on here, just like you can set them in front of the JU1000, below it, on it. The design of this one lends itself a little bit better to setting things flat on top of it, like some of the bigger devices, though you can do just the same thing with the JU1000. Just know it's got this rounded style, more like the JU99, though it's about more than twice the size. 2.5, 3 times the output of the JU99. So same output on both, same price. Plug in here, you see the light blinks. Now, when you turn the dials, it will change the frequency. And you can see the frequency at which the light blinks. That's the frequency of the Orgone output. You can know when you're doing the RAD1000 that you have a higher frequency or a lower frequency. Now, a lot of people seem to confuse high frequency and conflate high frequency and high vibration. People say, oh, that's a high frequency person. We all know what they mean. They mean this person's high vibe, basically. Now, when you look at 5G, it's got, I don't have it off the top of my head, thousands of times the frequency of like the Schumann resonance. So higher frequency is not better. Like 7.83 Hertz is a relatively low frequency. Your standard wall outlet in the US is 50 to 60 Hertz. So the Schumann resonance between 7.3 and 7.83, 7.9, there's a range. Then it doesn't mean like low vibration. In fact, sometimes a very low frequency is great for all sorts of things. It's not, we believe it won't make you tired, it won't make you lethargic. A lower frequency won't, lower your vibration. Lower frequency is, from a very, frequency is in Hertz frequency. So someone also asked me, well, I'm measuring the Hertz frequency of my pendant with a tool he had. And remember, Orgone is different than electricity. So we use electricity in the device, and that creates the Orgone output at that frequency. But these are obviously experimental technologies, and Orgone is only measurable by a couple things that I've found. The life force meter does a pretty good job, though it's far from perfect. I've seen some inconsistencies in it. And then you have highly intuitive people who can test things like this objectively. If you test them out and they prove themselves as an objective measure time and time again, then those are the best things we have right now. Orgone is obviously a theoretical energy. Now, with a RAD1000, a standard use would be something like this. You would use the stick pad, and we'll get into this in part 2. And if you're not into radionics, then really, it's a moot point. Again, it's not better or worse. One would use the stick pad like one would use a pendulum, in fine-tuning and dialing in the mind to a specific thought, a target, a trend. So let's say you could be thinking about a person, and you're thinking about that person, and you're wanting to send love to that person. So while you're thinking about them, when you have a good, clear mental image, a memory, you can see, smell, feel, you have a clear picture of them, and that's when you'd lock in a particular rate on the dial. You can also do this on the JU1000. You can use the dials either for a specific frequency or for radionics. But remember, radionics has to do nothing with frequency, though it changes the frequency. It's all about the set intention on the dial, like a pendulum. It's only significant because of the significance placed upon it in the mind and then put into the device. So here you would do, maybe you're sending that person love, so you're feeling love, you're visualizing maybe love surrounding that person, and you simply do this, and when it sticks, then you've got your rate. Obviously, it's totally subjective, so it's not, oh, that's 72 Hertz. No, all three of these dials interact to make one frequency in the Orgone generator. So target, trend, then you could do another trend. And that will change the rate at which the light blinks, the frequency, but that is not the orientation of using a RAD1000. If you're oriented towards frequency, then go with the JU1000 or a different device. And if you're really, really, really looking for 432 Hertz, this or that Hertz frequency, then you would go with the JU2000 or above that have the digital display, so you know the exact frequency and you can tune to it. Now this is going, this is on. If you have the RAD1000 and you're not using it this way, that's okay. You can also use the written statements, which I recommend to most people, affirmations, things like that, or the pendants. If you have one on the device, one with you, we look at that as the transfer, and you could set a crystal here, you could set a prayer card here, you could set a rosemary, essential oil, whatever sort of frequency you're looking to transfer, you're looking to set your intention with, then you can do that with the RAD1000 and not use the dials, or you can do that with the dials. So these are versatile tools. The RAD1000 is designed a certain way to lend itself for radionics use, though it doesn't have to be used with the dials. You can leave them at 0, and like I said, use the written statements, pictures, things like that. You could even use a transfer card to a manifestation program. Turn the device off. You can leave these devices on 24/7, 365. Now with the JU1000, these 6 frequencies are exact. 3.5 Hertz, we believe, feeling of oneness, language learning. 6.3, super learning, boost memory. 7 Hertz, we believe, enhances artistic inspiration, creativity. 7.83 Hertz is associated with the Schumann resonance. 10 Hertz, frequency associated with mood elevation, centeredness. And 14.1 Hertz, it's associated with efficiency in daily activities, mental and physical energy. Now, people ask me, well, this dial, what is it doing when I'm on these 6 preset frequencies? This dial is not influencing the frequency until you click over to right. And then you're influencing the frequency here. You're setting the hertz of the device. Now, can you use this dial like a radionics dial while this is set on another frequency? You could. Again, radionics is not around changing the frequency. It's around setting an intent into a physical identifier. So it's merely what you associate with that set rate. There's people who have rates, radionics rates, let's say 20, 32, 48, and they say that rate is good for this or that. Well, you can set that rate, 20, 32, 48. So these are in intervals of 2, obviously. That will change the frequency, but that 20, 32, 48 is not necessarily a specific frequency. Again, it's just a number associated with certain qualities based on the intent of the operator put into it. Whereas the JU1000, when you're changing the frequency, you can measure, and we do measure, the electrical components inside the device are actually changing to that frequency. And that energizes the circuitry within the Orgonite, which we believe puts out Orgone at that exact frequency. But this is an exact Hertz frequency, all these 6 presets. And then when you go to right, you have 0 to about 500. People ask, well, why don't you put 500 on the dial? Well, we've talked about it, but then you have bigger interval jumps. Same things with the RAD5. We're actually turning them back up to 1000 Hertz. However, at 500 Hertz, you have more precision, and that's with the digital frequency display. Why? How? Well, because you're still fitting 500 Hertz or 1000 Hertz into that same amount of space. So just the slightest movement when it's at 1000 Hertz will change it twice as much as that same slightest movement at 500 Hertz. If that makes sense. So you can still get to whatever number. It's just easier to be more precise with 500 Hertz. Now here with 100, obviously you're not going to get exact, but you can get close. So let's say you want to do about 62 Hertz. Okay. So here's 50. So 2 would jump 10. Let me look at it. 62 would be about there. About. If you're close to the frequency, the desired intent in that frequency associated with that frequency, you know, you can get within a few hertz, right? So if you want a lower, if you want a really high frequency, you can do that. If you want to get precise, we just don't build the digital displays. We just don't build the digital displays into the smaller devices. It just doesn't make as much sense. It's more difficult to do, more cost, so on and so forth. But with these 6 precise ones and the 0 to 500, you can get pretty close. So silver output tube, same output, same price. Radionics is more based on feel, based on intent. You can use written statements with both, with either, just the same. You can leave this at 0. You could turn this to the right, leave this at 0, and you could set your written statements. Again, our belief is that the orgone output going to the intent is the primary use in manifesting. The frequency I look at as like a secondary function. A lot of different intentions or trends are associated with different frequencies. So that's not to say you couldn't do 7.83 hertz and write down trends associated with creativity, anything like that. All right, that's the comparison. Again, to sum it up, I recommend most people go with the JU1000 radionics. It's very cool. There's a good book called 21st Century Radionics. There's a lot of people throughout history who've used it. Albert Abrams, Thomas Hieronymus. You're welcome to check that out. Ask us any questions. And you know the email, orgonegenerator@protonmail.com, 5307 Orgone in the States. Internationally, you can add me on WhatsApp. All right, have a great one.